Hello fellow tankers, this is Dauntless, and today I'm going to be doing a review on the new Tier 8 Swedish premium tank destroyer, the STRV S1. Now, just bear with me, but this is not going to be a typical review. I'm not going to be comparing stats. I'm not going to be going over every little, detailed point of this vehicle and comparing it with all the other competitive vehicles in the game. Not really. I feel like most of you that are watching my video and that search this video pretty much have a basic understanding of what this tank can do, and most of you have the ability to go to Tanks GG and look at all the stats of this vehicle very, very quickly without me having to baby step you through the process. I think most of you are here because you want to see some action with this vehicle, as well as get an experienced player's opinion on how competitive or if this tank is actually worth your hard-earned money. And that's pretty much why I'm here. I want to give you my honest opinion, and just bear with me, it is just my opinion. I might think this tank is great, and you might go out and buy it and absolutely hate it. So please take what I say with a grain of salt before you pay money to go purchase this vehicle. Now, the STRV, in my opinion, is worth the money that Wargaming is asking for it because of one factor: the penetration on its standard APCR rounds. This vehicle boasts 288 penetration standard with its normal rounds, and its gold rounds have 330 APCR pen. This is ridiculous when it comes to penetration because most tier 10s don't even have that kind of penetration, and this is a tier 8 premium tank. And the velocity on these rounds are 1,450 meters per second, which is crazy fast. That's like tier 10 medium tank fast, and this means that you'll be able to shoot targets without having to worry about leading them whatsoever. And if you're a huge fan of sitting back and sniping and supporting your team and just racking up those credits, this is an awesome tank for you. And the reason I say this tank is great and it's worth the money is because I feel like most players buy a premium tank at tier 8 and they spend their 50 bucks because they want something that they can sustain their tier 8 games, because obviously you bleed credits when you play those higher tiers and you need something that makes money. Well, the biggest reason people lose money when they play their premium tanks is because they have to resort to gold rounds, or they're bouncing their standard rounds. Like, for example, if you're in an IS-6 and you're playing against tier 9s and you can't pen anything, one, it's super frustrating, and two, you're not going to be making a lot of credits. This thing is going to just slice through most vehicles like it's nothing. Like a hot knife through butter, this vehicle will just sizzle right through pretty much anything without trying, and it's going to be so accurate that you're going to be able to hit weak spots and lower plates from 400 meters away. This means that if you're a decent shot, you're going to be able to just print money even when you have a loss, which in my opinion is pretty awesome. So those are the strengths of the vehicle. The cons: the weak points of this vehicle is obviously the fact that it has pretty much no armor, which you probably already knew. And I'll go over the armor layout a little bit after this replay. This replay is just kind of started right in the middle, and I'm just going to get it going real quick for you guys. But this is going to show you what this tank can do. As you guys all probably know, this vehicle comes with siege mode, where when it's in siege mode, you can actually shoot, you can move, you can do pretty much everything and keep your binoculars as well as your camo net activated at all times, meaning that you're going to have that great view range and camouflage without ever losing it, which in my opinion is pretty awesome. Now, as you can see here, this vehicle is just spitting out the damage. The OHO and the KV-4 are not lightly armored vehicles. They are very, very tough frontally, and the IS-3 in this tank can hit exactly where you aim and go through it like butter. Watch this shot right here. It's just boom, right where you aim, and it's just going to slice right through it like it's nothing. Like, this gun doesn't really bounce anything, and it's going to be a little bit different if you're going against tier 10s and tier 9s, but again, if you want a gun that will just print you credits like crazy, I feel like this tank is going to be just an awesome tank. And again, it does have mobility, so you're going to be able to get around the map quickly. And the downside again to this tank is the fact that it can't really brawl. It has no turret, it takes time to get into siege mode, it has absolutely no armor whatsoever, and when you're in situations where you load into Himmelsdorf, you're going to have to just kind of scratch your head and take one for the team. You might be able to get 3 or 4 shots in before you die, but the majority of World of Tanks maps do have areas where you can sit and snipe, and because of that, I feel like this vehicle overall is going to be worth your money, and it's going to be worth it's going to be good at making credits. So the reason I wanted to show you that game is because what was happening in that replay is pretty much what you're going to be doing all the time in this vehicle to make credits. You're going to be sitting back and you're going to be sniping. Now, for some people that's amazing and thrilling. For some people that's really boring. So keep that in mind if you decide to purchase this vehicle. It's going to be a very campy vehicle. You're going to want to load binoculars, camo net, and then a gun rammer, and keep those three things as your equipment slots. And you're going to basically sit back in an effective location, get in a bush, and just go to town on vehicles that are going to be pushing you. Now, unfortunately, this vehicle is going to be very team dependent because of its lack of armor and because of its lack of brawling capabilities. Having no turret is quite hindersome, especially when you are trying to fight things around corners. And a lot of the time, I think it could be frustrating because you're going to have situations where your whole team goes out and pushes, and you're going to be sitting back waiting for shots, and you're not going to get any because your team either pushed and killed everything, or your team all died and you get overrun before you can get enough shots. So you're going to really have to pick those battles where it's kind of the in-between, where you're going to be sitting back and getting into those situations or those positions that are effective, where you can actually keep your gun singing while your team are still alive, allowing you to get better than a 50% win rate and not just completely being a handicap to your team. Now, the highlights of this vehicle, again, are the fact that it has, good DPM, it has great penetration, great accuracy, great aim time, great dispersion. Pretty much everything that you could hope for and wish for in a gun, this vehicle has. And the siege mode is really not that much of a handicap in my opinion, just because the strengths of this weakness in terms of gun handling and performance totally outweigh the fact that you have to wait 2 seconds before you can go back and forth out of it. One other unique thing about this vehicle at tier 8 is that it's the only tier 8 premium tank that has a siege mode, and the fact that its gun is completely locked. The UDES at tier 8, the standard version of this tank, basically has a gun that actually can aim upwards without having to go into siege mode, allowing you to be a little bit more flexible with the tank. This tank, not so much. The gun is completely locked to its hull, meaning if you want to point the gun upwards or downwards or side to side even without turning the whole vehicle, you won't be able to. And so you do have to, go into siege mode, which can be a little bit unfortunate, especially if you're in a situation where you're being attacked by a light tank from behind and you really have to swing yourself around and put yourself into siege mode just to be able to get a shot off. Another interesting thing, this tank does have great gun depression, and so you are able to peek over hills and whatnot and shoot. And the 8 kilometers reverse speed is actually pretty respectable, considering siege mode in the UDES is only 5 kilometers per hour backwards, and 8 is almost double that, meaning you can get out of situations where if you peek over a ridge using your 11 degrees of gun depression showing barely any of your vehicle, take a shot and then back off, you'll actually be able to troll a lot of vehicles. And I want to show you really quick another unique thing that this tank has. See these blue areas on the side here? That's spaced armor, meaning if something hits you here, it's going to do 0 damage. This tank is not very big to begin with, meaning that the enemy is only going to have this to shoot at. And tanks that are shooting HE or heat at you from the side, they're going to have a hard time actually penetrating you or actually doing damage from the side because of all this spaced armor. Frontally, HE and heat are going to do a lot of damage to you, but because this vehicle has 30 millimeters of armor versus the 20 millimeters that the UDES has, it's actually going to take over 91 millimeters actually, 91 millimeters of gun caliber to overmatch this armor, meaning that any tank that has under 90 millimeters of armor and this vehicle is angled at a 70 degree or greater, is just going to be an auto ricochet for you, meaning that this tank can actually be pretty trolly for those lower tier tanks, especially light tanks and quicker medium tanks that are going to try to circle you. Another interesting thing about this vehicle, again, is because it's small, and if you're able to use that gun depression and haul down like this, and let's just put an imaginary line right here, what are they going to have to shoot at? They're going to have this to shoot at. And if you somehow manage to get yourself lit and you're shooting at tanks at 400 meters away and you're using a ridge line to hide that much of your tank, they're literally going to have this target to shoot at. And if you're going up against guns that have slightly inaccurate accuracy, they're going to have a very, very frustrating time trying to even hit you, and you can easily fire and then pull back and expose very little of your tank. So the fact that this is all spaced armor is actually quite interesting and unique, and I think just that alone, the small hitbox and the fact that this gun has amazing stats, makes this vehicle a no-brainer to buy for people that are very into sniping and sitting back. Anyway, guys, that was my guide on, not really my guide, I guess, a review on the new STRV S1. I'm new to this, and so if you guys have any critique, things I could do better, things that you might want me to add, go ahead and feel free to leave them in the comments below, and I will definitely take them into consideration. I'm, again, new to this, and so I'm not really sure exactly what details to put in and what not, but I do want to give you my honest opinion on vehicles without spending too much time being bogged down by all the stats and comparing. There's plenty of other videos on YouTube that do that, and there's plenty of websites that give you that information much more quickly, and I don't think you guys need to sit here for 20 minutes and listen to me ramble on about how good the traverse on this vehicle is. So anyway, guys, if you like this video, I'd really appreciate it if you give a like down below, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button for more content like this in the future. Anyway, guys, as always, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later.